A new exhibit is visiting at the Houston Museum of Natural Science called Amber Secrets, Feathers from the Age of Dinosaurs. Visiting curator David Grimaldi gives an overview.
The exhibit it focuses on amber from northern Myanmar or Burma. Amber is fossilized tree resin, and the exhibit is about a little over 100 very select specimens and pieces of beautiful Burmese amber. It's about 100 million years old. Amber is very simply fossilized tree resin that bleeds out of trees, and when it's still sticky, various kinds of life forms will get stuck into it, will waft into it, and they'll become immersed and then entombed in the amber, and they're preserved in microscopic detail. The resin hardens, it falls to the ground, it's buried by sediments, and it's preserved for millions and millions of years in its original molecular composition, in fact. And millions of years later, we can dig it up, and you can crack open a piece, if it's a common thing, not a rare thing, and the tissues are beautifully preserved in there. The great thing about amber is that it preserves these delicate little life forms that are almost certainly not going to get trapped in rocks, or if they are, you can't see enough detail or they're very fragmentary. So things that were likely to decay away or just be too fine and detailed for preservation, you find this stuff in amber. And the fact that we have about 98% of all the life forms on Earth today, and it's probably the same thing in the distant past, are tiny things about the fraction of an inch. Most species are only the fraction of an inch today. If you want to understand the origin and the history and evolution of life on Earth, you have to look at the little things, and that's preserved in the amber fossil record. Amber deposits are pretty much like any other fossil deposit. You need the right kind of conditions, the right kind of strata to find them and to preserve it. Amber tends to be preserved in ancient lagoon type of deposits or bayou type deposits. So we look for that, and given the right ages and the right kinds of layers. Amber is actually all over the place. Usually it's in trace quantities, so people don't pay attention to it. But I've had paleontologist friends of mine just overlook it because that's not what they were looking for. They're looking for the bones. So it's pretty much everywhere, but it just happens to be concentrated in certain areas.
Grimaldi tells why studying amber is important and what has been learned since studying the fossil records.
The reason to study amber is like studying any other kind of fossil. It gives us direct evidence about extinctions in the history of life on Earth. We now know, for example, that extinctions are episodic. There are periods where there's mass extinctions caused either by drifting continents or volcanoes, lots and lots of volcanism, or meteoritic impacts. Climate change. Climate change can also encourage the proliferation of life forms, and such that life forms living in the tropics can move north as the global climate becomes warmer. So lots and lots of reasons to study the fossil record. One is the beautiful preservation of these beautiful, diverse little fossils preserved in amber. One of the things that I think they'll find very interesting is a lot of the insects and spiders, they're recognizable. They look like, oh yeah, there's an ant, there's this and that. Now these are all extinct species, and even though the groups are recognizable, I guess the take-home message is that insects are ancient organisms, and some things are. There's been a lot of change. I mean, dinosaurs went extinct, except for the birds, but some things like the insects are kind of recognizable. But not all groups are the same. So insects are particularly ancient. Insects are everywhere. Insects are the little things that run the world. You could get rid of all the vertebrates probably and not much will happen, but if you got rid of just the bees alone, which are the most important group in terms of pollination, ecosystems on land would probably collapse. So insects are really important.
For more information on the exhibit, visit the museum's website at www.hmns.org. For Day Trips, I'm Byron Benjamin.